guys, welcome to the first episode of the programming tutorial. This is going to be a spin-off of the Geek tutorial, except Josh isn't going to show up regularly. This series is going to be specifically about computer programming. I'm going to start with the most basic things, including what is computer programming, and moving on from there. So if you already have some knowledge of that, you can go ahead and move on to later episodes, or you can just stick around and watch and just laugh at me or something. Okay, first off, what is computer programming? Well, computer programming, quite simply, is designing, writing, testing, and maintaining software. Next question is, what is software? Well, software is a set of stored instructions for a computer to execute. The next thing is, how do you create software? Well, creating software is a very simple thing, but you need to have certain skills. The first thing you need to be able to do is you need to be able to learn what's called a programming language. A programming language is a special artificial language designed to allow a programmer, who is usually a person, to tell the computer what to do. It is a human-readable language, and then it's run through what's known as a compiler. After you've written the program, you compile the program, and the compiler turns it into machine code, which the computer can read, but humans cannot. So, it's simply, all you have to do is learn a programming language, and then you can have a compiler, and you can start coding right away. The next thing is, what kind of language should I pick? Well, there are lots of programming languages out there. There are hundreds, maybe even thousands of languages out there. There are lots of common languages, such as C, C++, Perl, Python, SQL, Visual Basic. Java is a common one. COBOL, that's kind of old, but it's still kind of common usage. Fortran is also old, but some people still use it. C#, F#, all these things that you might or might not have heard of, they're all programming languages. The next thing that we're going to talk about is, what language do I pick? Well, since there are so many languages out there, they're all designed for something specific. For example, if you're going to be doing database programming, you might want to pick SQL. Or if you're going to be writing a program that has to be used on all kinds of platforms, including Windows, the Mac, Linux, Unix, all these different platforms, you're going to want to choose something like Java, which has the ability to do that. Or if you're going to be designing just a general purpose program, you might want to choose C or C++ or Visual Basic or C#. But if you're going to be doing something that involves a lot of math, you might want to think about F# or one of the dialects related to that. And when it comes to computer programming languages are just like regular languages, spoken languages, except the only difference is you don't really talk to a person in a programming language, and you'll see why later on. Also, programming languages have their own syntax, they have their own vocabulary, they have their own semantics, they have all these things that any other spoken language has. It's just you're telling a computer what you would be telling a person, except in a different language, if that makes any sense. And programming languages, most of them at least, are fairly human-readable. There are some languages out there that are designed to be as human-unreadable as possible, and those languages are usually there just for fun. The next question is, well, now that I know all of this, what are you going to be teaching me? Well, I'm going to be teaching you I'm going to try to teach you a handful of languages. I haven't compiled a complete list yet, but I'm hoping to do Visual Basic, C#, C, C++, and assembly and Java. I don't know what order those will come in exactly, but I do know the first language I'm going to start with is VisualBasic.net. Now, let me give you some history about VisualBasic.net. VisualBasic.net is a dialect of the original BASIC language that was designed in 1969. BASIC stands for Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code, which it was designed by a couple of professors who decided that it was about time that a high-level language came out that was designed so that people who were not mathematics or science students could learn computer programming. And by high level, I mean there are different. The level of a language is kind of backwards as far as what you think of it. The level of a language refers to how much stuff is underneath the language before you get to the computer. For example, your computer is the lowest level at the hardware level. Right above the hardware level, there is machine code, which is written in binary, ones and zeros. The level above that is assembly. Assembly language is a special language designed to allow programmers to write code easier instead of having to write specifically in machine code. Then comes the low-level languages, such as C and C++, which compile into machine code just like assembly does, except there's more abstraction between C and C++ and assembly. Then there's high-level languages like Visual Basic, or Java, or any of those. A high-level language has even more abstraction between low-level languages and high-level languages. So high-level language doesn't necessarily mean complexity, it means how much abstraction is between you and the machine, or the language and the machine. In 1975, Microsoft came up with its own version of BASIC. They called it Microsoft BASIC, and it was shipped with the Altair 8800, made by MITS. It was a computer for hobbyists. They built it themselves at home. They would just order it out of a magazine and it get shipped to them. After a while, back in the 90s, 1991, I believe, Microsoft at Comdex announced the release of Visual Basic. Visual Basic 6 included full COM support. It included some object-oriented support. It was event-driven. It did all these things, and it was a very, very simple language. Yet you could do anything from the very simple to the incredibly complicated using this language, and you could do it very quickly and very easily, which is what it was originally intended for. The next language up after that Microsoft came up with was VisualBasic.net, which was intended to be merged into the .NET framework. VisualBasic.net is considered a different dialect than Visual Basic Classic because it has a lot of differences. I'm going to be teaching you VisualBasic.net, and I might teach you Visual Basic Classic later, specifically Visual Basic 6. A little bit of history about myself so you guys know. I'm a computer engineering student here in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I taught myself how to program in Visual Basic about 10 years ago. In the next episode, we're going to go ahead and talk about how to get started using VisualBasic.net and some of the things you'll need to know before we get started. In episode 3, we'll write our first program. See you later.